start us off?
Just not having Tyler here. How are you guys dealing with it? And you guys just basically a guy who could be out injured for a game or whatnot.
Yeah, on game 2, I think it was, we missed Larks and you make your line adjustments, and certainly Tyler's a big part of our team, big part of who we are. He's a real good player. The extent to which you miss Tyler depends on how the guys who fill some of those responsibilities play. If they play great, then the loss is less than if they don't play great. So, certainly we'll be excited to get Tyler back tomorrow. But tonight we're gonna have 20 guys dressed good enough to win the hockey game. Now we got to go out and execute at a high level.
You're going to get Fabs up there. I mean, how does he blend in there?
Well, Fabs for me is an outstanding from the day one of training camp in terms of his competitiveness. He's got a high compete level.
Carpenter, Kane,
he's got skill. He's got some of the attributes that Bert brings to the table in terms of going to get pucks and stuff like that, and the ability to score is a little bit different, obviously. But we think that it's the most natural guy to kind of go into that line. The little bit that him and Raymond have played together, they've played good together. Fab centered that line with Bert and Raymond when Larks was out. So we think it gives us a good piece up there.
I'm sorry to go back to Tyler, which was the thing, but you have a young group. You're trying to build something. Players are often expected to play through injury, stuff like that. So how do you sort of reconcile the situation with what you're trying to build with your?
Yeah, well, first off, our guys, love Tyler Bertuzzi. He's a great teammate as a coaching staff. I've loved coaching him. He's somebody that comes to work every day. He's got great character. At the end of the day, the players were allowed to make a decision, and that's the decision he's made, and we all respect that. And so we just treat it more like what we talked about previous, that it's just a time when a player's missing, and they can be missing for a multitude of reasons throughout a season: injury, personal reasons, sickness, and at this point he's out, and so the next guy comes in, and not just who comes into the lineup, but also who filters into those spots. So for us, it's not a big story at all. We just we're going to play a hockey game tonight and try to win with the 20 we got.
Moritz Seider was named the top defenseman last year in the SHL. Does he look like a guy who's been able to carry the confidence he built last year to the NHL?
Yeah, Moritz, one of his strengths, I think, is his inner confidence, inner self-belief. So I think he has that regardless of what an accolade that he received. I think he had that previous just from an inner belief, and he's had success at the American League level. He was a very good defenseman for Grand Rapids. He's had success at the SHL, and he's had moments of success with us. Now there's ups and downs when you're a young defenseman. There's a lot to learn. There's unique challenges in the NHL that are different than any other league, and there's certain players that he'll face in this league that you don't face in other leagues, and it's just the reality of it. And also, I would say the relentless nature of this league and how good you have to be every single night in order to really be a top player, and he ultimately wants to be a great player. So again, Moritz has had moments of playing real good hockey and moments where he's had to learn, and we're going to keep working with him to become the very best he can.
What do you see? What benefits do you see from him spending an extra year in Sweden?
Experience matters, and I think in a perfect world, you'd like when you're going to take the ultimate test, you'd like to have as much experience as possible, and so now he's had the experience of playing in the DEL as an underage before his draft year, the experience of playing the American League, and the experience of playing the SHL. So you would think at that point he's extraordinarily ready to face the challenges he's going to face. Now that doesn't mean there won't be trials and tribulations, but I do think that experience has helped him.
And we saw that last week, the first goal, Lucas Raymond. Can you talk about his work under?
Yeah, Lucas has done a good job. Now, the one thing that Lucas is, I think, is a fairly complete player. He's somebody that we can trust in all facets of the game, and so that earns him ice time and allows him to be in position to make some of those offensive plays. But it also means that, he made two real good offensive plays in the last game. He scored his first goal, and on Tyler's goal, he made a great pass in the neutral zone. But when he doesn't do that, and you're not going to do that every night you're not going to score in this league. Every night you're not going to get assists in this league. You have to be able to have a really good, I guess what we would call B game. And for me, he's done a good job of that. He's been accountable defensively. He's very, very smart in his own end. He's very hard-working player. The one thing that we're continuing to work with him on is making sure he moves his feet to go get more pucks, so he has the puck more. But he's been a solid player for us so far.
Is there part of this game that's really maybe you didn't expect? Is it the defense or just his instincts, like you said?
I would just say, you never know how players' games are going to translate and how quickly. I was told he has a really good brain, which he does. Watching him, we knew he was a pretty complete player, and he was gonna, you'd never know for sure, but he's certainly lived up to that. And then you just don't know, how quickly some of the offense will come, and some of that situational. So far he's done a good job. I don't want to, like everything in life, it's game by game. It's a small sample, but he's done a good job so far.
Just to go back on more, we often talk about him as a reliable big defenseman. How do you see his offensive ceiling?
Well, he's more than just a defensive defenseman for sure. He's more than that. He's got an opportunity to be offensive as well, and kind of be that all around defenseman. He's obviously big, he's tough, he's strong, he's good defensively. He's got good instincts both offensively and I think defensively. He's got a good swagger to him offensively that I think will help him be a good offensive player, probably even better than his pure skill set. He's got a real swagger to him, but he's got to learn what I would call efficient offense, learning to create offense without any unneeded added risk. And ultimately, those are the best defensemen. Some defensemen create tons of offense in this league, but they can be a liability defensively. It's hard to win that way. We had probably the most efficient defenseman of all time in Detroit with Nick Lindstrom, who did both. By no means am I comparing anybody to that. I'm not saying that, but ultimately the best model for me is to be as efficient as you can. And he's still learning how much he can bite off on a night-to-night basis offensively, and how to, produce that offense while still being real good defensively.
All right, we have some questions on Zoom. Kyle, you want to go ahead?
Start off with Wayne St. James.
Hi, Jeff. So are you going with 12-6 tonight? Is that?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm curious, was there any hesitation or talk going into the season about playing, Tyler or Dylan Larkin in back-to-backs, just, with the way their seasons ended and Tyler coming off back surgery?
We've had conversations about multiple players about, where their health's at on a back-to-back, and ultimately, any conversations we have in August or September are going to be continue to be evaluated as guys go through the season, and we see how they're reacting. So far, Tyler certainly's had no issues. Obviously Larks took the one hit and has come back and been fine. So we'll evaluate after tonight's game and make the decision for, from a health perspective and from a playing perspective, who the best guys are to play tomorrow night.
And with Tyler, so you guys didn't practice yesterday. Did he skate on his own today in Detroit, or?
Well, he actually skated yesterday, and he chose to skate today on his own as well. That's the decision that is up to him, and he chose to skate today on his own.
Okay. And just one last thing, is he suspended for today, or?
You know what? That's a question that we'll keep internally.
Thanks.
Ansar Khan.
Yeah, Jeff, just with Giovanni Smith here, in 3 games, he's had 3 sticking infractions. Is there a balance that he needs to find as far as playing aggressively and with that abrasiveness and avoiding those kind of penalties, especially in the offensive and neutral zones?
Yeah, and certainly, a hooking penalties add zero value unless you're hooking somebody because they're about to get a scoring chance. Other than that, they add zero value. So it's not like you're bringing a level of compete or toughness on a hooking penalty. So those are, to me, a little bit different than a net front battle that he got in one of the games where ultimately, again, he still has to be smarter than that and not take a cross-checking penalty. I think, Giovanni's learning that balance and learning that, he has to be the guy who is out there playing hard, playing physical, bringing us momentum, potentially getting underneath the skin of the other player without taking penalties. And that's a learned thing. And he's a young player in the league. And I have confidence that he'll keep getting better at it. But in the meantime, he does need to stay. We all need to stay out of the box. He's certainly not alone. We've taken too many penalties and we need to make sure we stay out of the box.